Hi, everyone. This is my first time at the ASO conference, and my first time presenting. Oh, this mic? Thank you. Testing, testing? Okay, there we go. So this is me. If you're on aforementioned ASO Slack, you probably know me by this picture, which is from before the plague years. Now I look like this. But yeah, I've spent 10 years marketing mobile games. I'm from Sweden, and I spent the last couple of years in Stockholm working for a company called MAG Interactive. 1.5 years ago, I relocated to Barcelona to become ASO Manager for Bandai Namco Mobile. This is our team, along with some of our friends from our counterparts in Japan. Bandai Namco Mobile, founded in 2019 by a group of experienced game developers and marketers from Bandai Namco Europe in Lyon, with a goal to bring together a lot of high-density talent in the industry to put together a multidisciplinary studio. This is where we're located, right on the beach in sunny Barcelona. As part of Bandai, we have access to a large library of famous IPs and strong media brands. And our marketing team in Barcelona is trusted to manage overseas marketing for some of these large titles that have been developed in Japan, as well as licensing and outsourcing development for new licensed titles, and our own in-house development. And we have a bunch of titles on Apple Arcade, including Pac-Man Party Royale and Galaga Wars. Very Little Nightmares recently came out. If you happen to not be familiar with Apple Arcade, it was launched in September 2019, happens to be the same month that our studio was founded. It's a subscription service, $5 a month. You get access to over 200 games. I think right now we're up to going on 300, actually. It's cross-platform, so a lot of these games are playable on iOS and also macOS and Apple TV. And the unique selling point is that games on Apple Arcade have no ads and no microtransactions or in-app purchases. If you look at Apple Arcade, you'll see two broad categories of games, what I like to call arcade ports, games that were previously launched as either premium games that you have to buy to play, or free-to-play games that are already on the market. And on the other hand, we have Apple Arcade Originals that were either developed specifically for Apple Arcade or come from outside the mobile ecosystem. So console games or PC games that are brought over to Apple Arcade. So, the reason we're all here. The first thing you're going to notice if you open a product page on Apple Arcade is that it looks a bit different from what we're used to. A full third of the page is occupied by this header video, which is always going to be in a portrait crop, no matter what your game is. Like this is Turtles Splintered Fates. This is a landscape game. The header video is in portrait, something you're going to have to deal with. You also have the icon centered in the middle of the screen, along with the app title, the subtitle or category. And then you have the usual stuff like share button and download button. Does anyone use the share button? There's no tracking on it, so I'm not sure. And below the fold, the store page looks very similar to the regular store page. You have preview videos and screenshots and description and all of those things. If we look at the Apple Arcade tab, you'll see a similar layout, like 2/3 of the page is going to be occupied by these features, which are videos or animated graphics. And below that, you'll have top games for your market. This is the US market, and this is the Japanese market, where one of our games, Taiko no Tetsujin, is the top game in Japan. If you keep looking through the arcade tab, you'll find some other interesting placements. Like this is an almost full-page feature, which has animated art, makes it very interesting to look at. You also have Game Center integration. So all the games on Apple Arcade have Game Center integration. And that means that if you download a game on Apple Arcade and you start playing it, and you come back to the arcade tab, you're going to be encouraged to return to the games that you've previously downloaded. Aside from that, you start getting more familiar space, as in the regular games tab. You'll have categories, you'll have special collections from the editorial team and that sort of stuff. You also have dedicated space for in-app events. Until recently, this tab featuring of events was only in the US. So if you ran events on Apple Arcade, you would almost only get US impressions. But over the past 2 months, they rolled it out in other markets as well. The thing to keep in mind is anyone can go in to this arcade tab. So you're going to get a lot of traffic coming to this page. And not all of them are going to be qualified to install. Like if they don't have the Apple Arcade subscription, they're not going to be able to download your game. So you can sort of look at this whole tab as a big ad for Apple Arcade as a service. And you're sort of participating in this to help convince users to invest in the subscription and hopefully download your game as one of the games that convince them to make the leap. Another thing that you might have noticed is if you search for a term that Apple thinks is relevant to a product on Apple Arcade, you're going to get this little, did you mean to search an Apple Arcade actually suggestion? If you do that, it turns on a filter in the search field, which I'm not sure if there's any other instance of Apple filtering this search. When it does that, it's only going to show 1 or 2, sometimes 3 titles that usually match the search term. So yeah, there are a few other major things to keep in mind if you're launching an Apple Arcade and you're planning to do ASO for it. There's no native testing, there's no PPO. Also, since there's no IAPs or subscriptions, there's no featured products for you to stuff more keywords in. And also no custom product pages. So in a lot of ways, it's sort of a return to what the App Store was like a couple of years ago. So we can come back to all the classic ways we used to test for the App Store before they graced us with product page optimization. So some of the methods that we use is cross-port testing, which is like if we have an existing free-to-play title that we've ported over to Apple Arcade, we can run, if we have assets that we want to release on Apple Arcade, we can run tests on Google Play or iOS for that title, and then apply the winning creatives to the Apple Arcade page. We can also do acquisition funnel testing. Of course, that's not going to perfectly emulate the sort of traffic you would get to Apple Arcade, but it's one additional data point that can be useful. And if you don't want to do any of that, you can always fall back to just put the update out there and evaluate the impact and hope that it went well. So I wanted to show off some cases of successful creative testing and the uplift we've seen from these. So starting out with Galaga Wars, it was originally a free-to-play title available on the regular app stores, so both on Google Play and iOS. And it was ported to Apple Arcade as Galaga Wars Plus. So I want to show off a screenshot update we did So this was the old set of creatives, which closely matched the previous creatives used for the free-to-play games. We wanted to spice it up a little bit, make it seem more premium on the Apple Arcade store listing. So our talented in-house creatives produced a bunch of screenshots with this style. So to test these screenshots, we ran a barrage of tests. We ran store listing experiments on Google Play. We ran experiments on the App Store, as well as acquisition funnel tests. And we saw good uplifts on all of them on the conversion rate. So we decided to go ahead and publish this. So when we rolled this out, we saw an improvement of conversion rate on search traffic by almost 14%, and on browse traffic by nearly 30%. And as I said, you get a ton of browse traffic on Apple Arcade, and not all of it is going to be qualifying to install. So seeing this major uplift on browse conversion told us that it's still possible to derive a lot of value from this traffic, and you can get a lot of impact by just incremental improvements. Following up on this, we ran a test with a new icon in the funnel test, and when we rolled this out, we saw, again, nearly 9% improvement on browse traffic and an overall improvement of 10% on conversion. Looking at our biggest Apple Arcade title to date, Pac-Man Party Royale, we ran a set of icon tests and screenshot and video tests as well. Basically, these were some of the icons we ran. We wanted to try out a couple of different feels, like should we sell it as a party game or as a throwback to old classic Pac-Man or something more exclusive. In the test we ran on this, we ran an initial funnel test. We saw a almost 16% improvement on the winning icon, which is the one down there in the corner. And we also ran a set of new screenshot creatives. Again, we wanted to get a more premium and eye-catching feel for these screenshots to really show like the additional value, the value propositions of the game, and to help convince users who are on the fence to hop into Apple Arcade, get a subscription, or if they already had a subscription, choose this as one of the games that they're playing. When we ran the test with these new screenshots, we also made a couple of new videos. So, as you remember, you have this top video on the store listing, which is always going to be gameplay. So we wanted to test, okay, should we use the preview video space to show off something of the meta, like some of the more customization focus in the game? Or should we reinforce the gameplay? Should we back up the top video with some additional depth to the gameplay? So in the test we ran, we saw that the gameplay variant had strong uplift by 5.6%, while the customization meta video fell behind. It didn't really show much uplift, sadly. But when we rolled this out, we got a whopping nearly 50% improvement in conversion on browse traffic and nearly 40% in mixed traffic. So what are our key takeaways from this? Now, I can't go too deep into the actual metrics because Apple will take my head off. But Apple Arcade gets a ton of interested eyeballs just looking to the store every day. And even if they don't qualify to install, you can still optimize to catch as many of them as you can, because a segment of that cohort is going to be on the cusp of of either getting Apple Arcade or choosing a new game in the Apple Arcade lineup to add to their daily games. And if you apply traditional testing methods methodically, you can get really significant impact to get more downloads to your arcade title. And I think it's worth looking at the sort of the true conversion of Apple Arcade is participating in this big marketing of Apple Arcade as a product, and basically helping a user find as many games as possible that they find the total value worth the subscription service. And you want to position yourself to be one of those games that brings the user into Apple Arcade, gets the subscription, or adding value to existing subscribers. As I said, I can't go too deep into details here on stage on certain things. But if you want to talk to me, find me here today, or you can reach out on Twitter or on the ASO Slack, or you can send me an email, or you can hit me up on LinkedIn. Just use that QR code. Yeah, thank you.